All right. Hello. Welcome to your reading. So let's get started here. Okay. Everything looking good. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure. Okay, let us share the screen to see the chart. Got my nice little cup of coffee here. And I'm ready to go. So Liliana T. So let's actually show everything. Okay, Moon square Pluto. And yeah, wow, okay. Very unaspected chart. Interesting. Mercury is completely unaspected. I mean, it conjuncts the ascendant, but besides that, unaspected. Mars is unaspected by points. So Mercury, Mars, unaspected. That's like a very, and then there's, oh my God. So right off the bat, like Sagittarius and Leo. Okay, this is like not the opposite, but like very different than the chart I just did. So right off the bat, I see like a very blunt energy. Like unaspected Mercury, unaspected Mars with a huge stellium of Sagittarius in the first house is like, and with Black Moon Lilith there, it's extra proof that you are someone who likes to voice, like have their voice heard, and you're definitely a truth seeker, and you're someone who really likes to go after the truth in different situations, and go after that like really trying to like understand where you stand in the grand scheme of things, and trying to understand like a high philosophy, high wisdom, and all related subjects. So whenever I see someone that has like a bunch of energy in one part of their chart, like obviously it's like all over here and it's in one sign, I think okay. And then you even have like it's like the first and second house are just dominant, right? And then even the moon's in the third house, so it's like basically like that part of your chart is really about identity. And I think of it as like it's kind of like kind of like forming the basis of your identity, right? And when you have that much Sag in the first, there can be like a tendency to be a little bit dogmatic, right? Like a little bit like what I believe in, you should believe in. That's like the low energy of it, which is why your Black Moon Lilith is there. It's really saying it's kind of doubling down on that, in the sense of like like people should do things like it's like you at your lowest. You may, and sometimes I'll like keep the camera off for a little bit, because I literally will like meditate, or like close my eyes and do these, which I started doing that. I tried that yesterday, and I was just like, wow, this is like super helpful. So yeah, so just like when you have that much energy, right? So we have to talk about, okay, so what elements are you missing, right? If you have so much fire, which is like the passion, the ability to self-start, to be very independent, to take risks, courage, all these things, right? Active. It's very active energy. You know fire, what fire is, right? Aries, Sag, Leo, right? These you know how these signs are. but really, oh, one sec, actually, I think I get something. Like really, like it's really important for you to understand that each sign has there's a lot of free will in astrology, right? Astrology is not fatalist. It's not, a death sentence if you have a certain something. It's not, there's no death sentence, or there's no like opposite of death sentence. Like there's, like in astrology, it's like, yeah, you can have things that you might be looked at as, there's definitely some like very positive aspects and that sort of thing. But when it comes to like, what your moon sign is, what your sun sign is, I mean, yeah, like with the moon, of course, like, in the process, whenever I finish it, of writing that article about Capricorn moons and Scorpio moons, and how it's like more difficult for like men to have them. So yeah, with that's kind of true. But in general, when it comes to a sign, it's really important to know how it can manifest in positive and in negative ways, right? So with Sagittarius, and I'm kind of like walking around right now. I'll turn the camera back on a little bit, but when I'm doing like back-to-back readings, it's important for me to kind of get in the flow and move and do things. So with Sagittarius, right? The low energy is someone who is very, very blunt, who doesn't even really consider the other people's needs, or who thinks to like, because Sagittarius is all about someone who has put so much of their life's energy into finding a philosophy, right, that they can live their life based off of. They're natural born. You're a natural born philosopher. You are a philosopher. You are someone who loves to travel, right? You're very open-minded, right? But like, what can happen is that once that mind has been opened, Sag people can have a tendency, like they love to learn, right? But like the high Sag energy, right? They don't like to be proven. They don't like to be wrong, right? And they can sometimes attach a lot of their ego to their knowledge and to their wisdom, right? Because they feel like, I've gone out in the world, I've learned so much, right? I've taken so many risks, whether it's traveling to different countries, I can't back on, or this, that, or the third, and they can sometimes feel like that everyone around them should also like I can't stand my hair. Everyone else around them should also have like the similar views, or at least be like open to exploring them. So like I'm a Sag moon, as you may know. So when I was like first getting into astrology and spirituality, I still have this feeling, really, really wanting to like kind of convert, and not in a bad way. It comes from a place of love, like people that like family members, people I grew up with, like really like people close to me, not like grew up with, like people who are close to me and who aren't really into that kind of thing, and really trying to like help them explain like how helpful it can be, right? But you learn in life that everyone at their own speed. Now, you have a very good combination of sun and moon. Sag and Aquarius work really well together. They're sextiling like elementally, right? And your Mercury in Sag is sextiling your moon, so that's going to be a very someone who can really, really express their emotions in a clear way. So good. Yeah, so moon, Mercury. Yeah, common sense. Wait. Yeah. Common sense and shrewdness, a witty talker, and entertaining personality. I access this book a little bit sometimes for like some of the minor aspects, because for the major ones, I obviously go way deeper, like your moon square Pluto. But yeah, like just the fact that that's that that you have this Sag sun, right, at 2 degrees, which in my system is in the first house, and in the Placidus house system would be in the 12th house. It just makes it gives one a very abundant type of energy, right? A very like very expansive, someone who's wise and definitely like travel is so important to you, right? And these are kind of obvious things with Sag, but there's also the Sag rising people. They see life like as this like this adventure quest, and they're constantly trying new things and curious about whatever it may be. And it's very important for them to continue to on a high level to continue to always challenge their worldview, And one of the best ways to do this is to learn, learn different things, to kind of try to understand how different people see the world and see truth, like higher truth. And yeah. So yeah, like it's important to never stop learning. And having all that in the first house, I mean, you have a ton of fire, right? So like that's like going to make you very, very independent, very, very freedom seeking. And with your moon in Aquarius, that gives you an emotional need for freedom, an emotional need to be someone who is a pioneer and beats to the beat of their own drum, and who maybe is very, very unique. And also, one thing about having a moon in Aquarius is that it can sometimes make you a little bit like removed from your emotions. Aquarius moons, air moons in general, they tend to like prefer logic to their emotions. And sometimes they don't really feel like the emotional impact of, whatever it may be until like, months later or something, right? So that one is important. So aside from that, like very social chart, very, 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 very social chart, very extroverted. And the fact that you have this moon in Aquarius, right? It's very interesting to me that there's a square with Pluto. Now, I think this has a lot to do with the mother, right? The moon or the mother, or like the least dominant parent. One second, turn some AC on. Which it's typically the moon is typically the mother in most charts. The nurture, but it can give like a very intense emotional life. So almost like compulsive like behavior patterns. Even in a moon sign like Aquarius, right? So it's really important to understand the emotions, because Aquarius moons, like no moon sign doesn't have emotions, like it's like everyone has emotions. It's just that sometimes with the air moons, it can be a little bit more difficult to access them. I want to finish this coffee. It's so good, the oat milk with the flat whites. So good. But yeah, like dark emotions, emotional crises, like this is a really, really difficult, if not the most difficult. I mean, some people in my comments are saying that the opposition is more difficult, I guess. Like either way, like moon, like the hard aspects of moon and Pluto, it just makes your emotional nature, like even if you have no Scorpio in your chart, which you have none of this in your chart, it makes it so you like you really, really have to grow and to evolve and to transform, in this lifetime, which is super interesting for you because you have no like no water. Like it's all very masculine. Masculine's like the air, and like the more and fire, the more active, you know, zodiac signs, but you know, it definitely can speak to emotional pain buried in the unconscious that can be very hard for you to access because, you know, once again, Aquarius moon. And yeah, like the emotional reactions, they come from such a hidden place, and it can just make it like, so like you can get triggered by things, and you're just like so confused, like why did that trigger me? Like what just happened, you know? Um, and like a lot of times in relationships, you feel like there's like the moods are sabotaging your relationships. Also, other areas of life, right? It can be a really sharp energy. Um, so you know, as I was saying before, like the inner pain, like where does it come from? Like a lot of times it's the mother, or at least like the home, right? And it can be like early home life. It can be felt in intimate relationships, as I said. But like, so this is like a very big trend with this is a interfering or like very obsessive mother. And a lot of times this is like a very ancestral passed down type of thing. Like when, like if you were to do a family chart where like, you know, you or family reading where you just like I'm starting to do that now. I love doing it, but basically like I just get like the charts of like, you know, as many of your family, like your entire family, like as many as you want to give, and then I like try to find like astrological kind of, I guess you could say, like a system, like I'm like trying to find trends within that, right? And breaking each individual chart down, but then comparing it to like the whole. But yeah, there definitely be some kind of like a passed down trauma. But like basically like, so these emotions can be very, very like when you're just chilling alone or whatever, like they won't necessarily come up, but it's when you're in really close relationships that the emotional crises occur, right? And you know what can happen is the moon in Aquarius, it's all about like it's all about space, right? It likes it, and it needs its freedom to be itself. It needs its freedom to be it's like very individualistic self, right? So when it doesn't get that, with like the square in Pluto, it can be very explosive. It can be very, very explosive. It can kind of feel like, you know, relationships are like prison or like entrapment, right? Something like that. And yeah, like sometimes like with this one, um parts of your private life that you don't want getting out can get exposed. And yeah, it's just like it's just like a very like up and down, like emotional, but because it's like the only difficult aspect in your chart that I've seen so far, I'm curious. And did you got a follow up, I think, right? Did you? I don't have it in front of me right now, but if you didn't, you probably should, because the follow up is the best way to compare what I'm talking about today with your like real life experience, and it's like obviously like a live follow up. That's the whole point of it. And I would definitely be down to give you that. I just kind of rate for that. Just message me and remind me I said that if you're interested. But yeah, I would definitely be curious of how big a role this plays in your chart, right? It is a very unique part of your chart. But yeah, like it can also be like a deep need to protect and to you know to protect close ones. And you know, Pluto always has to do with power and control on some level. So some of the lower manifestations of this is like someone who like is unable to give up control, and who you know, where there's like this theme of like power struggles and stuff like that. So, and yeah, because it's the moon, it can be very like very, very, very like unconscious, right? And there can also, yeah, be things like jealousy, rejection, victimization. And yeah, like it's all about like doing things like astrology or therapy or whatever it is to like really eliminate destructive feelings and behaviors from your subconscious. But whatever you choose to do, this is a perfect example of something that gives you self-awareness. Journaling is a very, something like that is very powerful with Pluto, because like I said, it is so subconscious. I can't just pass me something. It is so like beneath the surface that journaling or something like that can be very, very powerful for that. And Pluto represents like the darker side of humanity, the journey to the underworld, the dark night of the soul. So you can definitely be someone who has experienced kind of some of the darker sides of humanity, not necessarily like just within yourself, but it's so annoying. I'm not tired at all. My eyes are like tired, but I'm not tired. It's like, stop eyes. Like if you like, it's just like sore. I don't know what it is. Anyways, it's probably the brightness of my computer. Actually, kind of think of it. Why is my f dot lux Okay, so yeah, so like the more you become consciously aware of like different psychological issues you have, there's like an evolutionary leap that's taken each time, right? And the life experiences gained during like the more darker times end up being of immense assistance for your transformation. Like the whole point of this is like emotional death, rebirth, and transformation. And the high energy. I need to make another coffee. Like I'm gonna keep this going, but I'm gonna show the chart. So like the highest energy, right, is 1 second. We're gonna get to the bottom of this chart. So Aquarius moon, like it's very interesting because on one end it's in the 3rd house, so it's like it's like making communication very important to you, very social person, like I said before. Really like liking different kinds of friends from different backgrounds, all that stuff, right? But then what's really interesting about Aquarius moon is that you expect them to be like, because of how humanitarian they are, and this and that and the third, you expect that like in a close intimate relationship that they would also be that way, right? But it isn't really the case. They can actually be quite detached when it comes to like vulnerability and the such. And it can be a little problematic. Definitely it can be a little problematic for Aquarius moons when, of course, and then, being a Sag ascendant, that's actually going to really help you, because basically like what can happen astrologically and just like in life in general is that when people see your ascendant, right, that's kind of like your outer personality, the mask you wear, right? They have a certain expectation of you, right? So a lot of, like, not a lot, but like I don't want to use the word a lot, but like some people, they have a, like myself, is a perfect, is a good example, a pretty good example. Although I don't have this with my moon. The moon and my ascendant are in a very strong aspect with each other. But like some people, they have a chart that on the external, like on the outside, they are very like let's say they have like ascendant in like a very fiery sign, like mine, like Leo, right? But then their moon is in like a very emotional, like a Scorpio, or or a Pisces, right, or Cancer. So like people see the Leo and they kind of expect, because like people don't know, like the moon sign is very, very, very hidden, right? You only really get to know someone's moon sign when you spend time around them, and when you like kind of talk like deep with them a little bit, right? Like you get the sense. It's very hard to guess the moon sign. I did the other day though. It was crazy with YNW Melly the rapper. I like just knew he was a Scorpio moon. I just knew it. And I was right. I even guessed his sun sign, which is the first time I've ever done that. I should have filmed it. I always don't film my best moment, my like cool moments. Theme of my life, I just realized. But anyways, so what happens here in your chart is that because Sagittarius is 2 signs away, right, from Aquarius, meaning that they're, you know, an elemental sextile, which is a smooth. There's like a smooth flowing relationship between these 2 energies. You kind of are what you get in a sense. Like people, like the way you act, like you're like the quote unquote mask you wear through life is not that far from, you know, what you actually like who you actually are and what you really do represent. If that makes sense. So that's a good thing. And this is really helping me, by the way, to be able to like kind of walk around. And I've never done this in a reading, but I'm gonna start doing a lot more because yeah, like I always think better when I write when I walk. But now I'm looking at your chart. And how it connects with the North Node is 29 degrees Cap. And South Node is in Cancer. I swear, this is like a thing. I just said this last reading, like, and is there a Chiron and a fire sign? No, this one definitely not. Water sign. So this is interesting. So because you lack any kind of water, this is like the opposite of my last chart. So you are a fire. The last person I had was like literally the opposite of you. They had all water and earth and a little bit of air, but they lacked fire. You, my friend, lack water. And your south, and the reason is because your south node is in Cancer, which means that karmically, water is like emotions, intuition, imagination, that more kind of soft feminine side, right? And in past, so this is my belief. I kind of a lot of things I do astrologically, like I don't learn them from anywhere. They just kind of are things that like I don't know, I just decide are like make sense to me. And basically because your south node's in a water sign, and the only water you don't have any water personal planets. I imagine that, you know, that's not clearly like getting more in tune with your emotions. On some level, it's important. And back when I'm going to turn it back on because I'm just going to get my coffee in a sec. You know, with the square Pluto, right? But aside from that, there's lots of been there, done that with, like, for example, the mother archetype, right? Like not necessarily even just like being an actual mother, but you know, being like the nurturer, being like the person that takes care of others, that puts other people's needs before their own. And in this life, you know, with a Capricorn rising, or excuse me, not rising, North Node, which, you know, the North Node is representative of the mountain never climbed in the metaphoric mountain never climbed in past life. I hope this isn't making noise, but I bought these super expensive headphones so that this should not be making noise. So if you would let me know in the comments if right now this is making noise, that my coffee machine, that would be great. Because I bought, you know, these Bose headphones that are supposed to pretty much make it so like all external noise doesn't get in, but I've never fully tested it with something that noisy so close. But one second, I'm carrying over my hot coffee. Ow, it's burning my hands. So with that, right, Cancer South Node, just had one, as I said, you are, you know, you're used to being like, a lot of the times there's like a certain like being used to kind of depend on other people, and have like a defined role, whether it's mother, grandma, whatever it is, you know. And in this life, and also it's like, it speaks about like an imbalance between, I'll turn my camera back on now. I'm back. An imbalance between the masculine and the feminine, right? Because Capricorn is like very masculine, and it can be something related to gender, right? So, maybe in a past life, like you were a different gender. What's interesting is that your south node is conjunct Chiron. So to me, that's indicative, and your north node is conjunct Saturn. So it's like indicative of like in past lives you've been this like someone, this like emotional healer of sorts, right? In the 8th house. So you have this like past life knowledge, even though you have the water in your chart, of being someone who has healing powers, right? Now with the north node, right, in Capricorn, with Saturn close enough by to be important, you are, and it's, obviously Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. You're really trying to become more Saturnian, which is like you're really trying to become more responsible. It's in the 2nd house. So like you're trying to learn in this life lessons related to things like making money, things like it's not that's like the one view of it. Like Capricorn is obviously about like success and building empires and all that. 2nd house complements that a little bit, or a good amount, but it's also very much about finding a very like being your own father in this lifetime, right? And having a very firm sense of who you are, and a value system that you can kind of attach yourself to and make decisions based off of. So that's very important. And it's really asking you, the chart is really asking you in this lifetime to be more like, responsible, and to kind of go out in the world and just, make things happen that like perhaps in past lives, like, and maybe it is like being a healer of some sort, right? Like a psychologist or something like that, right? 8th house Chiron conjunct South Node, there could be some real skills related to helping heal the emotions. And what they're saying is that, what this is saying is that you probably didn't, like, you probably had lots of skills like in these past lives, whether it's a few past lives or however many we're dealing with in the karmically in this chart. It's really saying that you were meant to to come into this life and be more material, like be more pragmatic, be more just like someone who makes decisions and sticks to them, for example, right? Who's very independent. And that goes back to all the Sag energy, right? In the 1st house, I mean, Sun and Sag, what do you have to say? So like when you're a Sagittarius, especially with like all these planets, like definitely like ascendant, Sun, Venus, and Mercury, Black and Lilith, and Juno. Four planets, four of the 6 personal points are in Sag. So that is a huge emphasis, right? And so as I was getting to before, lacking water in this life, can make it kind of an issue at being in touch with your emotions. So I'm very curious how that works out, right? Because the South Node in Cancer is saying like, there is some been there, done that, but it's in the 8th house, so it's hidden. And with Chiron in the 8th house, in this life, you're really trying to kind of heal yourself psychologically and emotionally. Whether there's like a wound there, like around like a lot of times with the Chiron Cancer people, it's like there's like a wound around the family of origin. And in the eighth house, there can be like something to do with sexuality, like feeling like inadequate sexually in some way. But also it's like it can be someone who's very, very like in tune with the undercurrents of society, of the world, of the energy. So they can be very like good, like intuitive healer, like, you know, the kind of person that can just like feel the energy. Like I can do that. And that because I have Jupiter in the 12th house, so like I can tap into, in my Sun in the 8th house, I can tap into kind of the overall feel of just energy and just what's happening without even leaving my house. And you know, you have indications of being able to do something similar. Yeah, so you could have issues with your father, with the, you know, the Chiron there. And these issues can, you know, be from a past life, and they are meant to be transformed in this life. So whatever that means. If you do decide to do the follow-up, definitely like take notes of all the things that like the main points I'm making, and we'll talk about them. Most people, they watch these readings like multiple times. First time, I always recommend like first time, just watch it, you know, just watch it, take it all in, relax, have it on, you know, have on your, you know, be on your couch with your popcorn, you know, with a YouTube app on your computer, just, or in your bed, whatever, and just watch it. And then like a different time, so it's gonna be great to watch me closing my eyes. But literally they're like sore. It's annoying. So I have zero mental fatigue right now. But yeah, after that you can take notes and stuff. But yeah, so interesting. So that's lacking water, where you can lack compassion, lack empathy, not in the sense of like being a sociopath or something like that, but just like you know, like you can sense. So this was interesting. Like you can really sense like the general, like, and be very humanitarian. But then like in close relationships, as I said before, like there can be like the lack of that, right? The lack of that ability to be vulnerable and close and all that. But you know, with a lot of this lack of water, so that's kind of what that is. But with also you know, lack of earth, do you have any earth planets? Let's see, like inner planets. Well, it's only air and fire, so it's only masculine. So lacking earth can make you lack that groundedness, that feeling of balance and being grounded, and kind of like you can, like, you know, feeling like you can be this, you know, relatively the same person day after day, like from one day to the next. So that's very important. And one way to make up for lack of earth is to like do things like gardening, or going on hikes, getting into nature. And you know, to make up for a lack of water, be in water, take baths. You know, maybe candlelit baths could be, you know, something, or just like going to swim in the ocean, going, even looking at the ocean, being close to, like living close to the ocean. You live in California, I don't know where, or you're from, you're born in California, I don't know where you live. But yeah, that can be very important. And what's interesting is that your Pluto's in the 12th house. So that is actually a very, very spiritual placement. And it's kind of, it asks you to like conquer some of your fears. It's very contradictory with other parts of your chart, right? Because on one end there's this push towards like being more responsible, being you know, being a doer, not like a thinker, that and not like someone who just thinks about doing it but doesn't do it. But on the other end, there's this energy of, and they can also like contradict, but also like work together, right? So it's like becoming more material, but then like dissolving the ego, and maybe that's like, you know, later in life or something like that, right? Because you're born, you know, Lilia, yeah, you're born the same year as me, so there can be this like very mystical component to you, um this need to really like I'd be very curious like what career you're in, you know. um but yeah, like 12th house of Pluto is really about like jumping off. Like Saturn represents like like materiality, everything that, you know, is in our consensus reality of this world, the things that we deem to be so solid, right? And jumping off and learning to like, and this actually is totally relative to your, so with the square with your moon, right? um like just like letting go of control, just complete surrender, and allowing yourself to kind of like fall into the endless sea of Neptune. It's like a jump off the cliff. I always imagine like cliff, like jumping off a cliff into water, and like just being just like, it's like someone who can't swim. Sounds kind of scary. They don't know how to swim, and they're jumping off a cliff, a very safe cliff, into waters that they know they will sink, but they know that the sinking won't destroy them. The sinking will lead them to a place where they're able to be reborn and find so much more meaning in their soul, right? It's almost like, yeah. So it's interesting how these complement each other, which makes for quite a difficult chart, which is very interesting because the way that, you know, I always say God, but I guess some people, no one's ever said they don't like. One person said that she didn't like me saying, or not didn't like me saying that, she just didn't resonate with it. But I say it, you know, it. I know it's a charged word, but you know, the divine. How about that? That's better. So yeah, the divine clearly wants, you know, it's clearly a chart that, it's interesting how there'll be less aspects, right? So you'd think this would be an easy chart. I'm gonna go ahead and share it again, and kind of try to get into my meditative mood. You'd think it'd be like an easy chart, but it's not. And the reason being is that you know, that one aspect is quite tricky on its own, but by analyzing that one really important aspect, right, the moon square Pluto, we see that the resolution is really through letting go, and just learning to like really, well, I mean, it's not learning, because to go with the flow, because Sag is mutable, so that's your sign, you know, so you have definitely an ability to go with the flow, but there's some areas where it's more difficult. Yeah, and definitely one of them is spirituality, and yeah, like it can be difficult for people with these types of placements, but like, you know, then again, like, you know, the Sagittarius is all about, it's like the archetype of like the gypsy, the gypsy who becomes the philosopher, who becomes a teacher, then who becomes the philosopher, right? But going back to what I was saying before, like the divine, they set up like at first glance, I'm like, okay, this is like an easy chart, you know, there's not that many aspects, only like really like crucial aspect between like an inner and an outer planet is moon square Pluto. Besides that, not much. But then, you know, it's like a real cosmic puzzle that we're trying to figure out now. Aside from that, all that Sag energy, which I'll get into. You do have Mars in Gemini retrograde. Ooh. So there's another big thing. Mars retrograde. That's very rare. I think only 8 or 6 or 7% of the population has that. And basically it can so this is very interesting. So even though you have so much fire, maximum fire, the fire can somewhat be pulled in. There can be way more of like a internal, I guess, like my camera. It can make things come from like a way more. It can make like the real Mars is like your assertiveness function, right? So, and it's very linked to fire. It's linked to the signs Aries, also Scorpio, which is a water sign, Aries. But like any fire, Mars is very, very strong. Now you have it in Gemini, which is air, but it's in retrograde, right? So 1 second. So what can happen with Mars retrograde is that it can shift a lot of the energy that's usually like outward to the inside, even though you have a very extra. So this is like another thing that I'm dying to find out. And I'm praying that the Lord Bejeebus, I don't know who that is, that you get a follow-up, because I just want to know like what is it like because you have all these planets are so extrovert, but then Mars retrograde and Pluto square moon are not like that, basically like with Mars retrograde, what happens, it can make someone very past oriented, even though Sagittarius is the sign that rules the future, and so is Aquarius. So it kind of that will push a lot of that away. But yeah, overall, like it's like a an energy that's turned inward, and it comes from a place in past lives where you either acted too little or too much. And my guess, based on your South Node, is too little. There's times where you needed to act, where you needed to be assertive, have your own back, and maybe you didn't do it. So yeah, that's kind of what I get from that. So in the 7th house, though, that so also Mars and Gemini, it's like they are very, very good with their words. They're wordsmiths, and because it's retrograde, you'll be someone who has spent a lot of time kind of crafting. So you'd be like a very good lawyer, like someone who's a very good arguer, right? Debater. And you use your words, like your words are your weapons. That's what I always say about Mars Gemini people. Now, the fact that's unaspected is even more interesting. No, what am I talking about? Why is it? Yeah, it's opposite. It's totally opposite your Venus and your Sun, and even your ascendant, pretty much like 9 degrees. So it opposes. So this is what's interesting. So you have all this Sag energy, right? Sag is the higher mind, right? Sag is like higher philosophy, right? It's really about finding truths that you can attach yourself to and live your life based off of. So Sag people, they go to different countries, they learn different things because they're trying to like always broaden their worldview. And I find Sag people very entertaining, very funny, also very blunt, opinionated. Now, having all these planets there, right? It's obviously going to make you like really, really Sagittarius. But having your Mars in retrograde, opposite this this stellium, which is when there's like a lot of planets in one sign / house, it basically makes it so in this case Mars retrograde, so there's like a imbalance, right? Like, so you're trying to balance out like the lower mind and the higher mind, because Mars, in retrograde in the 7th house, like Mars in the 7th house makes someone very, very like motivated when it comes to finding romantic relationships, business partnerships, things of that sort. But when it opposes all these first house Sag planets, right? It can create someone who is more devoted to their own individual enterprises and to the things that they do on their own adventures. And I definitely think in this lifetime, you're meant to really find your own identity in a sense. Not to say that you're not meant to like get married and have relationships, but the relationships they have to support, they have to be very supportive of that, right? And being someone that has so much of one sign, like, or so much Sag, right? It would be very difficult for you to be in any kind of relationship with someone who doesn't give you the space and freedom to express your own individuality, and the freedom to go and kind of just spread your wings and just I mean, just like do your own thing. Like you wouldn't really like someone, and your Juno is in Sag, right? Juno represents like the perfect mate. So this like literally doubles, like backs up what I'm saying right now. Is someone who gives you so much freedom, and who probably maybe it's from a different culture. So and your Venus and Juno are here, so like that's kind of doubling down on this statement. Someone from a different culture will probably be more attractive to you, and through that person, you're able to like understand yourself, and it helps you understand, like it helps you with your worldview. Because I think about, like, I live in Romania, I date a Romanian girl, and through her, I understand more, like as being a Sagittarius myself, right? I understand it helps me understand more about. I mean, I would know about Romania no matter what, but when I'm like live with someone for so long, on and off, who's Romanian, like you understand the intimate details, of that culture. It becomes very, very like a learning experience, right? So that's kind of what I see. But they'd have to be someone who is very open-minded and understands that in this life, like like you have to kind of sometimes do your own thing, and definitely an adventure partner is someone that's very, very important. Like, can't be a couch potato, someone who's down to go on adventures with you. And yeah, like Venus opposite Mars though. Actually, one second for that. Before I go there. So that's important. And then the moon. So the moon is also very important in this. Yeah, so it goes back to the thing about freedom and unconventionality, like someone who's unconventional, who is not necessarily unconventional, but someone who's like you're not very like attracted to the traditional, and you're not a very traditional person yourself, even though you're striving to be a little bit more responsible in this lifetime. It doesn't have to be in the most traditional way. Like, I'm the perfect fucking example. Oh my god, like it's 6 a.m. right now. I guess it's Sunday morning. It's my cat's birthday. Shout out Esme. But like I don't give a fuck. Like, like I'm getting my work done. I'm getting my work done, and that's what matters. That's so like that's like an example of like it doesn't have like because I have Venus and Mars and Aquarius, and all these other planets are very like unconventional, and like as long as you're like getting done what you need to get done, and taking responsibility, and your life will be very linked to karma with Saturn there, fulfilling second house karma. Maybe it's around money. With Neptune and Uranus there can definitely be some real karmic themes around money, and also like your own values and your own your own values and your own, how you say it, the word in English, internal. Come on, Jesse, what? I speak so much. Basically, like your internal skills, like it's not really skills, like your internal, like what you're able to kind of turn to, when you in times of need, right? It's like it's skill, it's like things that are inside you. Like meditation is a perfect example. Tools, kind of internal tools, that you can turn to during like whenever, that don't come from someone else, like from like because that's what your south node is. It's an over reliance on other like more powerful people or environments or situations or whatever it is, and finding that power within yourself, so important. So I feel like this Mars is just getting bodied. Like your Mars in Gemini, it's just like it's in retrograde already, which makes it like, which is interesting because a lot of people say that Mars or retrograde like planets, like inner planets, that is, they let me actually look something up. They like act like their opposite sign, which in this case would be Aries, which would be Sagittarius, which would be like even crazier. But let me look something up. Let's see. Okay, 1 second. Okay. So yeah, one other thing about Mars retrograde is that it can create lots of anger. So and when you have this much fire, like Sag in your first house, and it can create situations like, okay, so here's the download. Like, Mars in the seventh house, it can create anger that can come up in relationships. It can come like create like very like headstrong relationships, right? Where when you feel like your individuality is being challenged, you can just be like very, very potentially confrontational. So, and sometimes like it can give so much power, but the person can't necessarily understand their power and how to use it properly. So, yeah, it's important to watch out for like, aggression, anger, conflict, things like that. And yeah, so that's kind of like the overall download there. But then, with the fact that it is opposite Sun, opposite Venus, Mars opposite Venus just in general is an energy where there's a tension with the feminine and masculine parts of you, in a sense that like it can create like lots of intense experiences in your relationship life, like, and you already have this like with the Pluto square in your inner life, so it can kind of duplicate that in a different type of way. It can create someone who when they love someone, they really like express it very strongly. There can be like very, dramatic displays of affection, and although this could be like normal for you, some people might like, especially Sag, which can be like the sign that's like the most it can be overly expansive, right? So having this much fire, right? What can happen to some people that have this much fire is they can smoke a lot of weed. It's just something I've noticed, like especially in my generation. And like it's really important to have a sport that you do, or like a running, something where you're able to sweat, because that's gonna be like the best way, running or whatever it is, dancing class, who knows. But yeah, so yeah, just super high sex drive usually with this, right? But it's like there's a need for like I was saying, like a release other than just sex. Like it can also create someone like with all the Sag, that they see sex as kind of like a sport, and they can really have a lot of sex. But there's this internal conflict between love and hate that shows up a lot of times in relationships, like love-hate relationships that go back and forth between the two. Yeah. That's kind of sad. So just reading something really quick. So like another indication like for partnership, I would say, is someone who can like match. And remember, I'm never ever telling anyone like you need to date someone that has this sign. And usually like it's very like impossible to predict. I believe that God makes that area of life unpredictable, because I feel like we're meant to, like, I don't ever advocate going to a psychic when it's about love, because every time I've tried that, they've always been wrong. But yeah, like definitely someone who's vibrant and who can kind of match. They don't have to match you in that way, because of course opposites attract. So like there's some relationships where it's like both people are similar, right? But then there's other relationships where that one person lacks, right? The other person has. So like in your case, it would be like, a guy that had feminine energy, like who had like, water, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, Earth, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, like those types of planets. That would be that would be kind of like the opposite tracks thing. So yeah, and then okay, so Sun at 2. Okay. Like Mercury in Sag is just like a very blunt communicator, a very independent thinker, and it just like makes you really want to expand your worldview through whatever you study, or it can make you like like higher education very attracted to you, and also someone like who has a ton of like who really values freedom of speech. And aside from that, definitely like a curious mind. This is further complemented by the moon in the third house, which is very, very good for this need to communicate your ideas with like Aquarius. Of course, it's like someone, like I said before, feeling more content with intellect as opposed to emotions. And yeah, you can also like learn a lot from your emotions, and from your reactions, right? But a lot of people that have Aquarius moons, as I was saying before, they kind of distrust emotions because they see them as like unpredictable. And I forgot to mention Aquarius moons. A lot of times they see their mothers as being quite erratic people. And yeah. So yeah, third house. Yeah, it makes you just like really, really want to communicate with like your immediate environment, keep up with the latest news, little gossip, but also like, gives a very inquisitive mind that wants to study a ton of different subjects and learn just a lot of different things. And what's cool about it is that you're able to like really converse about like any topics. This major versatility of the mind, which can create someone that has lots of different passions, even though you do have like, Sag, which is kind of more about bringing the Gemini into the grand philosophy that you live your life off of. Like overall, your chart is like Aries. There's no Aries. The Aries is the first house, which is where all your Sag is, right? And Sag. So it's like those two together is double fire, and it's about like imposing yourself in this lifetime, because in past lifetimes. And is there a square between Chiron? If there's a square between Chiron and the nodes, I'd be very proud of myself. Oh. No, it's oh yeah, I already talked about this. I'm an idiot. But still, there's pain in from the past lives, right? It's very, very karmic. This ability to like you're trying to get past wait 1 second, hold on. So okay, here's the kind of download I'm getting from this, right? Is that there's some very karmic wounds that you have, right? And there might not be like reasons for them in this lifetime. The fact that your sun and your moon are in an elemental sextile typically speaks about how your mother and father would have like, that doesn't mean they're like exactly the same people, or that they're like, usually it means that they're still together and that they get along, and that they have like and if they don't get along, at least they have like a similar, and even if they're not together, they have like a similar worldview, right? And maybe things just didn't work out, but like there's definitely like a similar worldview, which makes it so like you take on that same kind of principle. But here with with the Chiron, you might like find yourself in this lifetime, you might find yourself having like emotional blockages, and you don't know where they come from. Like emotional blockages where you're like unable to like feel your emotions, like you try so hard, like as Aquarius moon, like maybe I feel like I have like a tick in my eye or something. I've had these before where I'll like is this weird like Neptune thing, like where like I like was like going like I like go like this all the time, like this. I would like have to do it a lot. And I have Neptune in the 6th house, so like just like weird, mysterious like thing came. It lasted like a year or two. I didn't like go see anyone about it, and then it just like disappeared. But like now it's like it doesn't come back. That was so annoying. But anyways, yeah. So it's like I think there's like a level of healing past life emotional wounds, and there might not be a link to like anything that happened in this lifetime. That's all I'm saying. So yeah. Like self-expression super important to you in this lifetime. Like freedom super important, like having like creative pursuits, stuff of that nature. And in terms of Venus and Sag people, they just like want, like I said, they want to have a adventurous partner. From anything from like hiking to exploring different cultures, exploring different philosophies, different, just like a kind of like valuing someone who has like a similar interest in discovering as you do, right? Or maybe even someone who you like really value and you can learn a lot from them, right? Which is a lot of times Venus Sag people, they like I said, they are attracted to foreigners. And they tend to like really like foreign things, right? So like whether it's like having like like having like going like the Turkish deli, and then after that going like the French like specialist French cheese place, stuff like that. Again, that's just a random example. So what was that? Okay. So your chart ruler is Jupiter in Leo in the 9th house, which is literally like that's like a very strong placement for an astrologer, or for someone who is like a teacher of some sort, and who can like really teach in a very like Leo way, and it makes everything Leo bigger. So in essence, like Leo is about creativity, right? Leo's about like the inner child, authentic self-expression. So you could be someone who in some way your midheavens in Libra, ruled by Venus in Sag. So in some way, like you are such an independent entrepreneurial person. And midheaven, Libra rules the scales, which is like business, but it could also be like something like counseling. But maybe it is business. I'm not really sure what your career is. Actually, I can look and see if there's any of these fixed stars. But either way, you're gonna be someone who really like once again like benefits a lot from travels. Like traveling is a huge part of your life, and you might even move to a different culture, a different country, excuse me, not culture, like I did, fall in love with somewhere and then just be like, what, I'm gonna just live in this place. If you ever are interested, I do a reading called astrocartography, which is like the astrology of places. I'm just saying that based on your chart, it seems like you have a love. You most likely have a love for geography. Like I, as a Sagittarius, I used to like memorize all like have like globes, and like just like I was so curious about all the capitals and like all the countries, and I still am to this day. So that's something for sure. Yeah. So benefiting from from like your metaphoric and your physical travels. And it creates, yeah, like someone who's on this like this deep search, like insatiable, fiery, passionate, fixed, where you can like it's fixed fire. So it's like not just like boom and burns and goes away fast. It's like you're able to keep it going. Endless quest for knowledge through philosophy and everything Sagittarius, right? And like expansive knowledge is the basis of your wisdom, right? Expansive knowledge. And Jupiter and Leo, I think of them as like very benevolent, giving, caring, gregarious. They like to laugh and make people laugh, fun-loving, enthusiastic. There's a certain level of creative expression, and also it could have very good energy with children, which your fifth house, which rules children, is ruled by Mars and Gemini. So it could be children where they have a certain level of fun, and jovialness to those relationships. So yeah, like really like emotional, like the moon is so important because like in the third house, because it's like it's kind of like like it's third house is Gemini, so it's like there's really a need like with your chart to connect the lower mind, right? Which is like, think of it like you're a journalist, right? The lower mind is like the collecting of all the information, right? But there's no way an article can be made in the New York Times or whatever publication without someone who actually goes and does the survey, who does the on the ground research, like the that stuff. And then the Sagittarius energy, that's the person that takes all that and puts it together like in one like easy to digest article, right? Maybe not easy to digest, but like who puts everything together where it's not so scattered. So that's very important for you, is like because with the third house moon, there'd be a tendency to like really like want to communicate with like like it's like you third house moon people, they're so social. And I read lots of charts, right? So the last chart I read, it was a person who I call allergic to small talk, right? But with your energies you have, you do like to talk about deep stuff, but you're also very versatile. You're super versatile, and you're also able to kind of get small talk. Does that make sense? Like it's not like so like impossible for you to like have like these kind of like conversations that some people might think like you don't always have to have the deepest conversation ever. Like you like to keep things light sometimes, have a nice laugh, and that's a beautiful quality to have. And in Sagittarius, Mercury, I've seen them being very funny, even if it's like conjunct Black Moon Lilith, right? I don't know. For some reason, like I find like that could be like a interesting like mix of like dark humor and like and just kind of just outright Sag, crazy off the wall humor. But yeah, so having too much Jupiter in your chart too, as well as too much fire. Okay, here's some things to watch out for. Starting too many things that you don't finish, right? Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. Putting too much on your plate. So making promises you can't keep, right? Not being organized enough in those promises you might make, or in those things you say you're gonna do, and not organizing, creating structures for which, like for example, you might be like, okay, I want to be an astronaut. Okay, it's a bad example. I want to institute a better diet for myself, right? But you might not think about all the little things that go into making that happen, right? Or I want to be more healthy, and like there's lots of small details, and that's kind of what you have to dial in on, right? With your Earth, North Node and Earth, and not having any Earth planets, is that it's going to be very difficult for you in that sense, right? But it's based on kind of just moving towards that. And it could also be like, honestly, like I don't say this often, like your North Node conjunct Saturn in the second house, like that's like literally someone who's like meant to be like rich, who's meant to be like a boss, like who's meant to like really like be like someone who just makes it in this world, in like the world of business or the world of whatever it is, you know, who makes a lot of money. And but then, you know, with that said, you have Neptune and Uranus there. So Uranus in the second house can kind of create an energy where there's like lots of ups and downs with finances and earnings. And the goal with that there is to not take your sense of ego and sense of identity too much from like your external possessions, and it's about finding the internal, right? And with Neptune there, it's about how there can be some fogginess and some fogginess and some confusion around money, right? So the Uranus, so this combination can, and then Saturn there, it can create someone who's very responsible with money. So you see how there's like all these different archetypes, right? But the Saturn one is the closest, it's the one that's linked to your North Node, the destiny, right? So it's the strongest one. But Saturn second house people, they tend to come from like poor families, and they tend to work really, really hard, and they tend to, you know, they tend to like, you know, be quite conservative, although Sagittarius energy will usually not be like that. Venus and Sag can be spendthrifts for sure, but like they tend to like come, not all the time, but come from poor families, work their ass off, and, you know, like through hard work, make it. And you have Saturn Capricorn like I do. And that just gives like, makes one a very responsible worker. You know, someone who's able to be very kind of ambitious, I guess, in like their career and stuff, right? Like, here's the birthday girl. Come here, baby. See, like strong worldly ambitions. Come on, Ezra. Come here. Okay, I'm gonna ignore her. So yeah, besides that, here she is. So yeah, another thing about like the third house moon is that like it does also like to kind of like put their ideas, like express your ideas to as many people as possible, like the more the merrier. So that can create someone who like really enjoys writing or public speaking, like I said, singing, like something where your voice can be expressed, right? Your authentic voice, right? And also, like you can be someone who changes like environments, like kind of where you live, but not really. It's hard to explain. But you're versatile in terms of where you live, and yeah, and with the IC and Aries, you know, can create kind of like a very headstrong personality within your family system. You know, ruled by Mars in Aquarius. There can be like lots of like, yeah, a love of like spontaneity. It can be like a theme in your family life. And yeah, like really like yeah, like an active, like active family life, whether it's like your family of origin or you know, kids you might have, a husband, or I can't assume sexuality, but like partner, I have to say in these days. So what have I not covered? Midheaven ruled by Venus. Yeah, so like once again, you know, your career also. It can be ruled by adventure, by travel, by but it's in the 11th house. So you might have your destiny linked with groups of people, working with groups, like-minded groups. So that could be important. After that, I think I've pretty much said everything about every Sag energy. So Vertex and Leo, and then 9th house, you'll appear very, very like fun loving, very, very, very benevolent. You'll like very in touch with your it's kind of like your second ascendant, but like in love. And you'll kind of appear like that to your partners. And you'll really, really like, once again, like it's saying this in many, many places, like you need someone who also like is like this passionate about like travel and adventuring and taking risks, right? But yeah, another thing to watch out for with all this is excessive risk taking, right? I'm trying to give you like warnings of it when you have too much of one sign. You have to think about, okay, like what can go wrong about that sign, and then like tell that person, right? Because yeah, so excessive let me think, risk taking, yeah, like kind of the overall energy of like forgetting to look before they jump. Hmm. It's got deep into trance. And I was kind of thinking about this Pluto and how it connects, but it's like it wasn't only my crystal. Yeah, I think that just speaks to like through the process, right, of the Sagittarian truth seeking, there's a certain time where you're almost meant to all let it go and just completely like dissolve the ego and like lead a very spiritual life. Let me get out my Pluto book, because I always do this. It's tradition. I wrote this like, it's like handwritten notes by me. I still read to this day. Very, very brief on the Pluto sign. Pluto is super important. It's kind of like it represents in astrology like where we have to conquer in order to like get to our highest self, which sounds a lot like the North Node, but there's more shadow involved. I'll show you the birthday girl. Yeah. She's two. So the central issue is how to relate to creation as a whole, how to align the individual consciousness with a transcendent belief system. I'm going to flash the chart while I read this, because I've been told that I don't show the chart enough. Even though it's, yeah, whatever. Okay, so how to relate to creation as a whole, how to align the individual consciousness with a transcendent belief system that allows for an experience of surrender to and or participation with the whole of life. So this is like, we really have to pay attention to this one. It's super, super important. And it's not conjunct the ascendant. It's pretty far from it. Esmond, stop it. One second, my cat's like eating my book. Esmond. Okay. So I'm going to restart because my cat was like doing some crazy stuff. So the central issue is how to relate to creation as a whole, how to align the individual consciousness with a transcendent belief system that allows for an experience of surrender. So remember that word, surrender, To and or participation with the whole of life. There's a need to identify / dissolve the barriers between individual and collective unconscious in order to align the personal energy with collective or transcendent ones. The evolutionary goal, like from past life to past life, is to step out of the self and into the world of transpersonal, which is like spiritual forces. A loss of control can generate anxiety / phobias. This placement is saying that your next step in this life, if you want to go that direction towards the highest growth, is to let go and trust the infinite ocean. This fear can be similar to the fear of death, and the person may cling to materiality / whatever represents individual power to them to keep control. Jump off, as I said, the cliff of Saturn into the sea of Neptune. As I said before, Saturn represents the structures in our life, the government, the business, the society, the rules, the conditioning, and Neptune is like beyond, everything beyond, it's the intuition, it's the other realms, like the unexplored. So there's a tendency to elevate the rock / cling to it, the rock being like materiality. And it can be through a relationship, subgroup, way of thinking, etc. that this, clinging to that happens. If surrender occurs, space and time can be rejuvenated and feel like playgrounds. And an alternative is cycles of meaninglessness or meaningfulness. So the polarity point, kind of where the healing is in Virgo. And as I stop grabbing my book, that speaks of daily step-by-step techniques, consistent work, in parentheses, meditation, prayer, mantra, self-analysis, etc. Also, having your spirit grounded in service. Yeah. And then how has this dynamic of surrender / resistance occurred in past lives? Well, we have to look at the South Node for that. I would say there's that in past life, there's a clinging to, there might even be like a clinging to pain. Either that or a clinging to the role of the nurturer. But there, okay, there's several options, and I'm actually kind of backtracking the first thing I said because that wouldn't make any sense in the new way of thinking about this. But like, there could be like, like it could be like clinging to the role of the nurturer, the person that's always there to fix everything for everyone and play that role, or the healer, which is kind of similar, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at. But in some sense, it can, Esmond, stop biting my computer. It can keep one away from the highest manifestation, right? So in this life, with all the Sagittarius energy, you go out in the world, you take risks, you explore, and you find, different people, different places, different environments, different teachers, whatever it is, it can be anything. And it leads you to a place to where, maybe you write a book later in your life. Maybe you become like a teacher of something very, very specific, right? Maybe you like you basically like are someone who, Esme, stop biting my wires. What are you doing? I know it's your birthday, but stop destroying my stuff. Like overall, it's like around there's something big around teaching, something big around discovery. And let's see here. Oh, Venus trine Jupiter is very good for popularity. So I imagine you having no issues in the social area of life. I'd be so surprised if you did. Now let's see if there's any nodal squares. Nope, sextile with the moon. So that could speak to like having like positive karma with the mother. And trine with Mars. Okay. So then I guess we also have to consider the fact, okay, so the north node's ruled by Saturn, which is right by it. So that's very clear, and clear as clear as day that there's some level of like I could see a lifetime of of like it's so interesting. There's so many contradictions, like because also like Uranus in the second house is like it makes like minimalist and stuff potentially, but like basically learning lessons around value is karmically like extremely important. Like I said, people who have charts like this sometimes like because you're ultra talented when it comes to like if you were an entrepreneur like this is like a chart of someone who is just who's able to be a great and inspirational leader, but sometimes they might go overboard with their expansiveness, right? With their bluntness, with their ability to just say whatever comes to their head without much of a I told you you had Mars, even though it's in retrograde, it is unaspected. Maybe they zero each other out, which is like what I'd love to talk about this chart with you. But yeah, someone who like but like either way, like with the second house, it's about like learning that you are not like if you are like if business or whatever like your job is or your life work is in some level it's around taking responsibility, owning up, and not relying on other people. But then on another level, it's about not becoming too obsessed with taking your value, as I said before, from your accomplishments and the possessions you have and all that. And when you can like kind of like still respect what you've done, right? But know that there's way more, right? That's when things really work out well. So I'm trying to think like what I can add to this very difficult chart. You look at this chart, it's like I wonder if you're like this. It'd be funny if your chart was like you, like it's like a very innocent like looking chart. And what, by the way, I don't look at any pictures of you like of any. I don't look at any pictures of any clients. Like I just stay away. I don't look at anything until after I've sent it, and then maybe I'll check it out. But like yeah, it's like you look at him like, okay, this is gonna be an easy one, but then it's like it's not, it's not an easy chart for me, and that's why there could be lots of different interpretations. There's a few things that are just super clear though, like the traveling thing, the learning thing, like the romantic thing being like a very specific type of person, like Sagittarius. Even though you're very Sagittarius, like someone who and it could even be like Gemini energy or Pisces energy or something like that. But in the end, at the end of the day, like these things are clear. What you do for a living. Let me see this. Let me take a look at some fixed stars. See if there's anything I can find. Because this can kind of fill in blanks sometimes. Let's first start with this list. My major ones, okay. Ooh, Rigel on the descendant. There's one. So Rigel, you know, it's at 16 Gemini, and let's see what it says about Rigel there on the descendant, if anything. Nothing. But like the way I would look at it, Rigel is like it's very like you might become very fortunate in terms of who you marry. Let's just put it like that. And you might marry you might if you're not married already, you might be someone that marries someone with means. Could very well happen. Here's someone with tons of means. It's a very powerful cat whose birthday is today, but it's very early in the morning, late at night. So yeah, that's the first one I see. Okay. Is me. Ooh, okay, so your sun moon midpoint is like very close to Neptune. So to me, that's like kind of saying that like by diving deeper into spirituality and deeper into Pisces energy, you know, like just by diving into to the occult, the esoteric, spirituality, anything that's like otherworld, that has like an otherworldly quality, that can like really be like a very smooth fusion of your sun and moon energies, and kind of feel like it's like completing you. Aside from that, fortunately, you don't have anything close enough to 9. Your Venus is like close to Antares, which is like one of the 4 royal stars. I think that like the orb of Antares, I mean, it kind of counts. It's usually, I mean, like what orb would I give? Like it should be bigger. It should be like if it's a royal star, Antares orb astrology. Either way, it's gonna be yeah, it's let's see, it's not a close one. Yeah, so I'm not finding much on Venus and Antares, but I don't think it's actually like it's just not close enough. It's just barely out of, I mean, it's not gonna have an impact. All right, so next I need to go to the second list. And let's go here. I know I've heard something about this degree. Oh, I know what I can do. You're the first reading I've ever done this for. I'm gonna use some Sabian symbols right now. Oh wow, it opened right like on where the exact degree I was looking for. Like right on your ascendant at 15 Sagittarius. So okay, let's start. Let's just go through two. One second. Okay, let's go to the top of this one. So let's find Sagittarius. Okay, so for your sun, it says it is the index 2 degrees Sagittarius. It is the index of a nature that is humane, fruitful, and full of good works. Beloved for works as for inherent virtue, he / she will make many friends, and what of hardship she may endure will be voluntarily undertaken for the sake of others. She'll be attached to her home and family, but her sympathy will not be limited to her circle, but will extend benefically in many directions. Is the degree of sympathy. Okay, very nice. And then 7, which is your Venus, and then 15 is your ascendant. And 1 second, I want to see one other thing before. Oh no. Hold on. Okay, wait, where'd it go? Okay, got it. Why isn't it showing? Okay, hold on. Why is it? Don't annoy me, computer. Don't annoy me. Okay, better. Oh, okay, finally. It reopens. And yes. Okay, so with 7, which is your ascendant, 7, 15, 20. No, 7 is your Mercury. This denotes one. Actually, I'm gonna move this, drag this over so it's closer by. It's like so many freaking tabs away. I've like dragged for so long. So 7 is your Venus. So okay, it says it denotes a nature that is patient, contented, happy, and self-possessed, capable of following sedentary and homely occupations uncomplainingly, and much attracted to the calm joys of domestic and rustic life. She will lead an uneventful and peaceful existence, happily suited in domestic ties and patiently devoted to the work of about okay. This is a degree of placidity. Placidity. I don't know if you're supposed to do this with Venus. Let's just stick to the big three. Let's forget that one. Let's stick to just the sun, the one I said first, and then the ascendant here at 15, and then the moon at 21 Aquarius. Let's stick to those. So 15 Sag, that one I think I've heard about that one. This is okay. So this is the index of the mind that is penetrating, intent, and ambitious. This is your ascendant. Such as one may gain distinction by fortuitous flights of fancy. She will meet with distinction, will obtain a position of some elevation, but being sustained solely by her own inertia. She will enter a rapid decline, and in the end will meet with reversal. Remember, all of these are linked to like free will, right? Like anything in astrology that you hear is like overturned by, that's the joy of astrology, is that like, you know, if you live your life like completely on like, you know, just like autopilot, like these things happen when you learn about them. It's like exactly what happened tonight with the fact that I learned that it was Mars square Pluto. That changed everything, you know. I realized why everyone's acting crazy. Enterprising and progressive in spirit. Lots of success, especially during the first part of the life. It's the degree of direction. Okay. And then was it 21's Aquarius, which is conjunct 8, let's say 15. Hermes. Okay. Is there anything about that? Hermes is all about like deep esoteric knowledge. So, you know, that conjunct, you know, your moon will give like a real desire for that. But the Sabian symbol says this symbol is related to one in whose nature there is more force and energy than power of direction and self-restraint, and who in consequence will be continually running into dangers, which to him or her will be wholly unforeseen, though obvious enough to others. Relying on strength to overcome enemies. But it will be shown to her that there is nothing so insignificant as the strength of a man, since, or such woman, since she cannot overcome nature. Let her learn to use her forces with discretion and moderation, or she will be wounded in the conflict of life, and unseen dangers will lurk within the hour of exultation as snakes beneath the flowers. It is a degree of forcefulness. Okay. Wait, I'm sorry. That was not the right one. That wasn't it. That was one off. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is the real one. And the symbol is a raging bull stamping upon body. So basically all these are different intuitives who, through whatever means, whatever way, they're able to get symbols of each degree of the zodiac, right? And this follower of mine, very nice guy, just sent me this PDF, because I've had books of these in the past, but this one has like a lot of the different like lists of Sabian symbols. So, but like the thing is, like a lot of these people saw like very similar symbols for them. So this symbol denotes one whose passions are liable to run to excess and whose anger may lead into the commission of acts of violence. It shows one of a strong and forceful nature, capable of forcing their way into the world by pushing an energy, but yet issues with controlling their own feelings. At such times, as the passions are aroused, she's capable of acts of ferocity, and though may gain victory. I don't know why it's all about enemies in this one. Over enemies, there will yet be one with remaining there will yet be one with remaining unsubdued is essential that in otherwise fortunate nature should not ruin a great career by actions of impulsive ardor and indiscretion. It's a degree of violence. So just to know about it can heal it. Let's see what the other system, because I really like this one. No, it was the second one that I really liked. Not this one. This one's kind of like more like this one. Yeah. Okay. So this one, 21 Aquarius. Let's see what it says here. I think it's this one. Yeah. So this one is different. This is a degree of beauty for the Aquarius. A degree of beauty. Those of either sex who have this ascending will always be admired, but it's your moon. But you see how much different these. So this I think this was the one that let me see like my ascendant, because I can tell. Yeah, this wasn't the one either, because there's one that was like really, really spot on. Oh, I think okay, yeah, it was this. This is the second one. Okay, so this is it. So 21 Aquarius. So sorry about that. Like, I mean, there's like literally like 7 different like. Okay, so it says symbol the sirens. Enmities but luck. When not altered by other components, the female native or the male native's mate will postpone any affection and any ideal to the care of her person. Her physical appearance will be a matter of taste and will appeal especially to those fond of lusty roundness, apart from the real beauty of her complexion, hair, and eyes. Her disposition being a mixture of potential violence or unbridled passion and cool scheming. Okay. This is like, so once again, it brings around beauty, which can be an excuse for that fitful impulsiveness that has loss of self-control and anger, which in a woman are usually blamed on the weakness of her sex. Is stressed by other malignant stars, which it's not. It can have worse consequences. So yeah, just like have to watch out for like impulsivity and anger. Now with the Sag ones, let's see this, and then we'll end the reading. Am I over 2 hours with this reading? Please say I'm not. 1:58. Jesus. Okay, so Sag is 2 and 15. So it'll be right at 2 hours. Let me see one thing. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Fine. Okay, so 2, 3, Sag, a self-contradictory character. On one hand, gentle and sensitive. On the other hand, meddlesome, combative, and even aggressive. Her sense of charity and altruism can lead her to the hardest sacrifices that border on absolute self-denial, yet there'll be something mean in it. Psychic and sexual fecundity, love of family, love of home and work, and aptitude for arts, engineering. Yeah, so this is the one that I found most useful and most connected to mine. Engineering and perhaps architecture. Though the skill in planning to the least detail be transferred from the field of material buildings to the one of the feelings, and induce a petty scheming and plotting merit What is that word? It's spelled wrong, so I don't know what the word is. People may like, love, or even adore this person, but the concourse of other astrological factors will be needed for this. Well, good thing Sagittarius is a very, very popular sign. You have Venus in a beautiful aspect with Jupiter. So that's fortunate. So now we'll talk about your ascendant and then we'll be done. Okay, so 15 Sag. So okay. So it says it can be difficult to get things to completion. Plans will be made of thin air. And no, wait, why is it? This is it's like a PDF, so it's like very weird and like it's not like in like perfect order. So it's like okay, so it's Corelli. Which one? Which one? Okay. No, it wasn't this one. It was this one. Okay, finally. No, this was this one. This one was it. Linebacker. Okay, yeah. Linebacker degrees. Okay, so okay. Wait, why is it showing this? Oh, I see. Gotcha. Okay, I understand this one now. Okay, here we are. We have arrived. And this is the last one I'm gonna look at, and I am not going to say anymore. So Sagittarius 15, your ascendant. The groundhog looking for its shadow on Groundhog Day. Keynote, the value of anticipating new turns of events and ascertaining future prospects. In our modern industrial society, where policy changes and decisions often take several years to reach full actualization, it has become essential to plan with an eye on probable future developments. Such planning requires a study of past trends and the extrapolation of the results. What above is all simplified in the symbol is a sensitivity to the social or planetary rhythms and the need to ensure at least relative safety by planning ahead. This is the last symbol in the 51st sequence. Something of the meanings of the first four is involved in the process to suggest that the highest form of the knowledge required is eonic consciousness. In modern terms, the new science of perspective. Okay. And then for your sun, white caped waves displayed the power of wind over sea. Keynote, the mobilization of unconscious energies under the pressure of superpersonal motives. Wind and sea are in constant interplay, and the results of that interplay are inspiring and beautiful, which is interesting because you have no water in your chart. In symbolism, the wind is associated with spiritual dynamism, the stirring of deep energies. This dynamism produces the stirring of deep energies. This dynamism produces, obeys cosmic or superpersonal rhythms, the power of which is irresistible. At this second stage of the 49th fivefold sequence, we have a picture which contrasts the powerful but beautiful storms of nature with the often gory and hysterical crisis of a civilization which progresses through war. The picture presented speaks of sub-civilization through rhythmic intensity. Okay. This one's a little bit abstract. I kind of like it though. And finally, 21. So me and you, we have an exact sextile of our moons. So we'd probably be friends if we met. I just realized you had a 21. Like I'm 21 sides, you're 21. Okay, so this is the last thing I'm gonna read. Okay. So okay, this one I'm just gonna like summarize them because they're so metaphoric. It's about learning to like manage crises, which are tests of inner strength and perhaps even compassion. And it's like a very karmic thing, and it's like about resilience under adversity. So yeah, those are interesting. I would still say take those ones with a grain of salt, just because like they're very, very, very subjective. And I mean, there's a lot of people that have written about Sabian symbols, and I'm gonna dig more. If any of those resonate with you, then keep them. If they didn't, don't like think that like your destiny is depending on those. I mean, like I read a few earlier that like really were like correct, and then I read a few that were like way off. So I'm gonna like read through that whole thing and then find one of those. It's like 8 books inside one PDF. So I'm gonna find like one, or yeah, I'm gonna find like one that I really resonate with, and I'll probably use that one. Anyways, 2 hours and 7 minutes. Holy shit. But it was a complicated one. We did have to really, really go through many places, even though it was so Sagittarian, that made it even harder. So let me know about the follow-up, and if you want to do that. And current astrology is something that can be discussed later, because that's usually like what many people do is they do this chart, which most of the time is like done with the follow-up already purchased. But I think because I had so many follow-ups, I raised the price a little bit for this last one, for the one you bought, the promotion you bought. But I'd be happy to give you a follow-up at the price, low price. And then after that, people usually do the current astrology, which is like a live reading, which we're on Zoom, and we're discussing like the energy of the now. So anyways, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I'll talk to you later.